Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today visiting the collection of the French National Forensics Police Department, taking a look at some of the interesting and rare firearms that they have, like this MAT model of 1954 SB. This is a very low production, very rare, very specialized version of the MAT 49 submachine gun that was made specifically for bank security, which is to say not just a guy standing guard outside the bank, but also the armed guards on cash transport vans. The design was actually originally put forth for the French prison administration. They wanted something mean-looking for guards, essentially, but that would be as easy to use as possible in an actual shooting, hence semi-auto and with a wooden stock. It was then later on that these were offered to private bank security and cash transport operations. So this is obviously a version of the model 1954, which is the police iteration of the MAT 49. The MAT 49 is a standard military submachine gun, open bolt, full auto only, simple blowback. With the MAT 54, they developed a version for police, for civilian, not civilian use, but police use instead of military. So it actually used two triggers. It had a full auto and a semi-auto trigger with a special lockout for the full auto trigger because for the police, it was strictly prohibited to use fully automatic fire inside the city of Paris. Control where your bullets go, one shot at a time, precision. That was the rule. Don't go launching bursts of random bullets off into people's houses. So the police version, the 1954, in addition, was designed to function sort of as a light carbine more than a submachine gun. So besides being semi-automatic in practice, they gave it a long extended barrel and a fixed wooden buttstock instead of the short barrel and the collapsing wireframe stock of the military pattern. And those were the longer barrel gave you a longer sight radius, which made it a little more practically accurate, especially in single shot mode. That was the police version. It was also used by prison guards. It was used by the Paris police. It was used by the CRS, the Compagnie de Sécurité Républicaine, and maybe the gendarmerie as well. Not entirely sure on that. But they end up with this specific need for bank guards to have something similar. And if you're working inside a cash transport van, well, having the long barrel is actually kind of awkward. So they gave them instead a short-barreled but fixed stock version of the gun, capable of firing only in semi-automatic. I should also point out that there are actually two versions of these. There's an SA series, which has lower serial numbers, and an SB series that has higher serial numbers. The SA is much more similar to a regular MAT 49, and it's really not clear what the purpose of the differences is, but what we have today is the SB, so that's what we're going to focus on. So let's take a closer look at it, and I'll show you what they changed between this and the standard MAT 49. So mechanically, this retains pretty much all of the functionality of the MAT 49. It uses the same standard magazine, 9mm Parabellum, of course, 32 round capacity. We have the same folding magazine well right there for safe transportation. We have the same ejection port cover. It is only in the trigger mechanism and back here on the stock that the guns differ. So the easiest way to show you this is to disassemble the gun and just pull out this guy by itself. By the way, when I say it's all the same, that includes the bolt. It is a totally standard, unmodified MAT 49 bolt. All of the semi-auto conversion work is done in the trigger mechanism. Sorry, before we take a look at that though, I should show you the receiver markings here. Up on the top, Manufacture Nationale de Tulle, model 1954 SB, again, and then the serial number is actually here on the back assembly. So model 54 SB, number is SK0093. I have seen a couple other examples of these. They all have that SK prefix, although I'm not sure exactly what, if anything, that specifically indicates. Making these was quite simple. They just took a standard MAT 49 lower assembly and welded on a socket for a wooden buttstock. You can see that weld going all the way around, and the wooden stock. Not a stock taken directly off a different gun that I'm aware of, but standard sort of French carbine style sling slot there on the side. And worth pointing out that this is one of the later pattern MAT 49 lowers with this fully stamped grip assembly instead of having separate grip panels. Now, if we look at the firing mechanism, in our standard MAT 49, we have the grip safety, and when you pull the trigger, the sear just drops. That's all there is to it. On this guy, you can see we have quite a bit more going on in there. There is actually sort of a separate semi-auto disconnector built into the middle of the sear there. And I have to hold it forward, simulating pressure from the bolt. When you pull the trigger, it's going to pull both of these elements down, drop the sear until you get the trigger all the way back, and then the semi-auto disconnector in the center clicks out. The outside of the sear lifts, that catches the bolt when it reciprocates and results in semi-auto only fire. Now, on the MAT 49, part of the simplicity of manufacture is the fact that the trigger itself is this whole component right here. And that is why the trigger on the 54 SB model looks quite a bit different. It's because they had to build a new trigger to incorporate elements of that semi-auto disconnector in a fixed wood stock version of the MAT 49. Production of the MAT 49 SB was really quite limited. The number I saw was less than 100 made. Of course, this is number 93, which suggests it was very close to 100 of them made. And it wasn't the only gun used by private bank security. Guns like the Gevarm submachine guns were also pretty popular. I suspect more popular because they were probably a lot less expensive than a MAT 49 iteration like this. I do have a video on the Gevarm submachine guns. I'll link to that in the description text below if you want to see what the other option was for a civilian company with armed security requirements. At any rate, these were around for quite some time, but in very limited numbers. So it was very cool to get a chance to take a look at this one. I'd like to give a big thanks to the French National Police for giving me access to this one out of their collection to film for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.